Welcome back to another video. The Tahoe has been having a rough cold start idle. And today we are going to figure out what's going on with it. So first I got a new MAP sensor. So out with the old and in with the new. With the MAP sensor housing removed, you got to get a thin flathead, and your goal is to pinch this tab within the little sliver in the MAP sensor housing. And at the same time, as you press down on that latch, you want to go ahead and grab some sort of pliers and pull the sensor out, and it should come right out. Although faulty MAP sensors are very common in causing a rough idle at cold starts, that was not my issue here. I spent a lot of money on that MAP sensor from Advanced Auto, so the next common issue would be the MAP sensor going bad. Luckily, there's a cheap option off of Amazon, and it's located right on top of the manifold. So since throwing parts at it didn't fix the issue, let's go ahead and figure out what the heck's going on. To do that, I grabbed my OBD2 reader, plugged it into the OBD2 spot. I'm just going to turn the key to accessory because as soon as the engine warms up, I will not have the symptoms anymore. I'm going to take my phone out, open up the car scanner app, connect to the unit. I'm going to check out the live data. And I'll be checking out the fuel trim levels. So these numbers should be as close to zero as possible. I'm getting diagnostic codes of having one misfire, and it is running lean. So I'm assuming it's a vacuum leak. So to test a vacuum leak, we got some fluid. I've seen people use brake cleaner fluid, and I'm just gonna use air intake cleaner. So I am spraying where the intake manifold meets up to the block of the engine. And watch the short-term fuel trim level bank 1 go down to 0 as I spray it. So I know for sure that there's a leak on bank 1 on the driver's side of the intake manifold. So then I proceed to try out the left side, or bank 2, and we got the same results. And just like that, we have found out that there was an intake manifold gasket leak. Got the Tahoe in the garage, just received the gasket, and we got Layla.
Hey, what's up?
Remember that MAP sensor? Well, we are going to remove that. Oh yeah, don't forget to unplug the battery, the MAP sensor, the vacuum line, grab an 8mm. Now we need a trim remover tool. This will just come right off. Unplug the throttle sensor, remove the power from the alternator. Now this plate, which just unscrews. Be sure to organize all your screws, because if not, and you lose them, that would suck. Get a quick puppy break. Hi. Tab on the back, you just pull up and you lift up. Now we need to move the fuel injectors. There's 4 on both sides. So you just pull up, comes right out. Remove the brake booster clamp and its hose. We now need to move this fuel line right back here. You can move it with these plastic pieces or this metal tool. This is R70024. This line will be pressurized, so fuel will come out. So in order to release the pressure, we will come on the left side of the engine, take off this. You want to get a flathead and just press that nipple down. This drag's gonna be soaking with gas. Do not give it to your dog. Instead, put it away. So pull it in and press this tool in. It will just slide in. Oh, there's still fuel on it. Do you remember that scene in Saw where the girl had to get the key in like this little metal box, and she like stuck her hand through the box and her hand got stuck? This is basically the same mechanism, except you don't lose a hand if you aren't smart enough to move your hand. And now we can push all this wiring behind the intake. Now we have these bolts holding down the intake. They're essentially all around. Grab your 8mm and start removing them. The ones in the back is kind of tight to get to, so you will need a smaller wrench. There's 2 way back here on both sides. So it's gonna be a Tight squeeze. Once you break them loose, do them by hand. And there's one more way back there. That's the tightest one on the left side to get to, far back. The plug right here, lift at the back, it'll be pushed right out. Push that through. So you push down on this lock and you pull back. That's at least what the pros say. And now it's time to wiggle out the intake manifold. Can anybody tell why I had an intake manifold leak? When I replaced the motor, I just didn't install it correctly. I know how to install it now, and I'll show you. You can definitely tell I've been running lean for far too long. That means I'm getting too much oxygen compared to how much gas I'm getting. And you can really tell with the carbon buildup around the inlets of the heads, the intake parts, holes for the air, for the heads, head air holes. We can go ahead and take out all the bolts. These kind of turn them sideways and come out so we don't lose them. Let's go ahead and clean these surfaces as well. This is how you properly install an intake gasket. It literally clips in. Wow, isn't that magic? Why did I not know that when I installed it the first time? This would be a good time to clean the throttle body. I'm gonna use my throttle body cleaner that I used to test the intake manifold gasket leak. And now, with all that finished, we can throw that sucker back into the engine. On the engine, on the engine. And I'm not going to show you the whole process. Just do everything in reverse. And with the proper torque specs on the intake manifold. Because if not, you can mess things up. So also look up the right crisscross pattern that you'll need to do when you're installing the intake manifold. Check it, I'll show you the crisscross pattern because I'm a nice person. Well, I guess I forgot how an LS should idle because that definitely sounds a lot more healthy. So that is how you fix a rough idle. I recommend checking the intake first with the test that we did. Look at those numbers, make sure they're around 0. If they're way too high, you have an issue because I just simply did not install the intake manifold gasket correctly. I mean, that's an easy mistake, isn't it? Everything I use in this video will be linked down below for your convenience. A rough idle, especially at cold start, can be pretty finicky to diagnose, but those are 3 things that you can do to try to fix your rough idle. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting me. This is Chris Bills United. Always appreciate and respect one another. I'll see you in the next video. In the next video, we are going to detail the Mercedes. It is filthy, and replace a few parts to finally register it so I can drive it on the road.